Good morning. Today is Wednesday, February the 3rd of 2020. This is a regular meeting of Commissioners Court of Grimes County. It is 9 a.m. We are at the 114 West Buffington Avenue location known as the Grimes County Annex Building. I would ask that you please rise for the invocation, remain standing for the pledges to both the U.S. and the Texas flag. Would you pray with me, please? Father, we're thankful for this day. We're thankful for the blessings of this life. Dear God, we thank you for allowing us to live in this wonderful country, this wonderful state, this wonderful county. We're blessed to be here. Father, for all those that are willing to serve, we're grateful for their desire to serve the citizens of this county, to serve one another. We ask that you give them strength, the ability, and the energy, and the desire, and the continued desire. Father, for all of our first responders that daily meet danger in the work that they do, we ask that you watch over them and keep them. Be with their families. Father, be with all of our families. For those that are suffering with the COVID disease, dear God, we ask that you watch over them, that you give them their strength back quickly. And Father, just help us to overcome this pandemic that we're dealing with. Give us the ability to beat it, Father. We just want to beat it. Father, we thank you for your love. We thank you for Jesus, your Son, and it's in his name that we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Would you be seated, please? We have called the meeting to order. Agenda item number 1. We've given the invocation and the pledges. I'm now going to recognize public comments. I do have a Charles Boggess that has requested to speak. Mr. Boggess, if you're able, can you come up to the podium? And he does not wish to speak on an agenda item, but he does want to speak in regards to road and bridge. And Mr. Boggess, I'd ask that you limit your comments to 2 minutes. We're not able to respond to your comments, but we'll certainly listen to what you have to say, sir.
Your county engineer did not inspect products that he's working on. I turned in a bridge that needs to be repaired, and they repaired it. But they forgot to put the stuff up on the sides, and when you go over it, you drop down, and the boards are coming back up on it. Now, he's got to go. If he doesn't go, I'm going to call a recall election on this county, on all 5 of you. And I got 25 people ready to do it.
Okay, sir.
And you know what, he probably had one. And you think I'm joking? Call my ex-county judge, Levitt Boggess. He'll tell you, because he's my relative,
Okay, sir.
that I'll do it. And I've got 25 people ready to start. The newspaper's ready to put it on. And I guarantee you it's going to get done. He has got to go. The road has got to be fixed. It is not fixed. It's as rough as it can be. After you pass Spring Creek down there on my road on 409, it's fairly smooth. Another thing he did when they did that bridge, they had the road closed. That's fine, because you have to. But you don't close it 3/4 of a mile down the road on the other side of me and close the road at the same time. There ain't no ambulance can get in there, nothing. That is an idiot that you got over there.
Okay, I think the last time you spoke, I said we're not going to do any name calling, and we're not going to do any name calling today, but we're glad to hear your comments, sir.
That's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good day.
I have one announcement.
All right, an announcement?
St. Mary's Catholic Church is having a blood drive Sunday. The blood drive starts at 8, goes to 1 o'clock. We will be serving breakfast there. The men's club will be.
What time does it start?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock until when?
1 o'clock.
Okay.
I would like to make an announcement.
MD Anderson is the entity collecting the blood.
Okay,
And we have those 6 times a year there.
gotcha. Recognize Commissioner Walker.
I'd like to announce that we have the Washington County Emergency Vaccination Hub. It is accepting clients or citizens' applications when vaccines are available. You can go to www.localevent.info to register.
Could you repeat that again?
www.localevent.info.
Good. Okay. And I think last word they were getting, or supposed to be getting 4,000 doses.
And they were accepting 5,000 applicants.
Right. Very good. Anything else, Commissioners? With that, hearing none, we will go to consent agenda items number 3, number 4, 5, 6, and I think that's it. 3, 4, 7 also? No, yeah. 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Number 3, consider and take action to approve the treasurer's list of claims and bills. 4, approve monthly report submitted by the county treasurer for December 2020 and authorize advertisement of affidavit of same in accordance with Local Government Code 114.026. See page 4 of this agenda. Agenda item number 5, consider and take action to approve payroll. Agenda item number 6, consider and take action to approve budget amendments and line item transfers. Those are listed in front of us. And agenda item number 7, consideration and possible approval of a water line installation permit for Wixon Creek SUD on John Rice Road, or attachment number 7.
If there are no questions, then I'd like to make the motion that we approve the consent agenda items 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Second.
There's a motion before the court on consent agenda items number 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 by Commissioner Walker, seconded by Commissioner Cox. Is there further discussion? And hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Those motions carry. We'll now go to agenda item number 8, Grimes County Building Maintenance Manager, Mr. Al Peeler, update on the ongoing projects, Grimes County Jail and Grimes County Justice Center. And you gave us a wad of paper this morning.
So, good morning, Commissioners, Judge. Well, we'll start with the Justice Center. What you have in front of you is all the furniture requests that come in, and in that same packet is your 2-week look ahead, your project modification proposal, a few of there's a couple of change orders that need to be reviewed by you, and so we'll start with the furniture request. Furniture request for the Justice Center was done. It took 3 days. We brought every department head that was going to be housed in the new Justice Center, and what they were told to do was fill out the furniture request form, give us a example of what they were talking about, because we can't see it, the commissioners and the judge can't see into their heads of what they need. So just give us like kind, and they can at least have an example of that. So that's what you'll find in that. The building commissioner said just hand the commissioners and the judge the packet, and that is a court decision. It's not a project manager decision, and that's quite all right with me. I have sat down with Body Built, and as we get along in this process, I will go through and count up how many office chairs that they can provide, and then provide that with you guys. I think I'm partial to Body Built because they're a local business. They give a lifetime warranty. They have a service rep, and they're just an all-around great chair. But that's for a further discussion. Is there any questions on the furniture request package? Okay. Moving on to,
I do. How soon do we need to come to a decision on that in regards to what we're going to, based on what the needs were submitted? How soon do we need to make a commitment with some manufacturer or whoever to coordinate with us moving into the new facility and that equipment being ready?
within a month.
Okay,
We need to have some decisions of where we're going, what we're doing within the next month,
okay,
okay? Because depending on how you guys decide to go, if you go into a regular furniture, office furniture company, and you're gonna allow an à la carte for your department heads, to go on, that's when we need to get that done. If not, depending on how you guys structure, how you want it done, I would say I wouldn't go over a month, because the projected, date is June 6th. Substantial completion is June 6th, final completion is 6/30,
okay.
June 30th.
So when do you
That's
think we would
projected.
start the move in?
That's a question that I have to ask. I wanna know, I understand what substantial and final is, but I don't know if they want us to move in that interim period and let things work and see if that's where they're gonna take final completion. That's not a question that I've asked yet, because I feel that date's gonna change.
Okay. Well, I don't think any of us on the court want our employees or our citizens stepping over barriers or
It won't
having
be
to
that.
watch out for tractors or anything.
No, it won't be that. What it will be between substantial and complete will be, I move Commissioner Mallett in his office and a light don't come on. We're still not paying the completion until that light comes on, or a plug don't work, or it's all the big stuff. The substantial stuff will be completed. It's
Okay.
now fine tuned. It's no different than what we do with the courthouse.
Gotcha. Commissioner Mel, were you gonna ask something?
I just wanted to make sure, did we clarify between need and want on these furniture?
Every chance I got.
Got the, okay.
Every
Because,
chance I got.
Functional desks versus something that doesn't quite fit versus,
Every chance I got, Commissioner. I said it, if I said it once, I said it 15,000 times,
okay.
right?
Yes, but
Right.
how they,
I mean, that's the only two that come in here, so, I mean, yeah, I did. It's a need, not a want.
it was said, whether or not it was taken to
Yeah,
that.
truly needed.
Absolutely.
For the space, whether
Is
the
it
other one
different?
doesn't fit or it doesn't quite wherever.
And you'll get through that furniture request and you can,
Yeah.
Figure that out.
So everything you've submitted to the two commissioners that are on the building committee is needed?
that's an unfair question.
No,
That is the department's idea of what's.
I understand. I mean, but what they submitted to you,
Is there,
based on their input, I need this.
is supposedly their need.
Okay.
Do you have a price tag?
No, ma'am, I gave you what they gave me. Because how much, I don't know. That's why I just gave it for your review, and then we'll talk about that. Because I don't know, are we buying couches? Are we buying, leather top desk? Are we buying, hutches? You guys have to direct me in this, where we're going. Are we going to an office furniture company? Are we going to 6 or 7 different places to buy stuff? That's what needs, you guys gotta provide me some direction on how you wanna go.
And once we
Right.
figure that out, we need to make sure that it's under 50,000 or we'd have to go out for bids.
Or unless they're
Or
on
a
the
co-op.
Bible,
Yeah, or a co-op program.
or text mess or something.
And I
Yeah.
think we probably should have a workshop with each department's request to kind of get a good understanding of what they have is, what the condition of their furniture is. versus, you know, and how it fits in the space versus doesn't.
Well,
I
you,
think that's a
commissioners, y'all have not
wonderful
seen
idea.
your, or you maybe have seen your email. Have you sent it out yet, Cherie?
What?
The agenda for next Wednesday?
Oh, goodness, no.
Oh goodness, no? Okay, well, oh goodness, I have asked her to put an agenda out for a workshop for us to discuss whatever needs to be discussed. County attorney, if that's too open-ended, let me know. But that's kind of where we're at. We have a number of things we need to talk about. And one of the things that the building committee might want to talk about is how we move forward on the furniture. But get some, and then if we want to line up department heads and elected officials to come in and present during that time, we can make that a part of the agenda also.
Okay.
Commissioner Cox?
Yeah,
I may need to make it in the afternoon though, this coming Wednesday. I might have to have it in the afternoon though,
Okay.
for me.
are all the departments that are going to the new building included in this packet? Did anybody not submit it?
No,
Okay, everybody submitted something.
everybody submitted something except, one,
Who would that be?
Brenda Williams.
Okay,
And she said she didn't need anything, she had what she needed for her office.
okay. I mean, it's a pretty substantial stack. I mean, I think it's probably gonna, at a minimum, take some sort of discussion in a workshop setting possibly
Okay.
to narrow down some of these. I understand that these are all supposed to be needs, but
There are probably some wants stuck in there.
Now, can you go back to say what your agenda item is, the workshop is for?
The workshop was essentially kind of an open-ended, how we'd had discussion last week where we need an opportunity for the commissioners, myself, to, kind of discuss what's on our mind or issues that we're dealing with or concerns that we have. Just an opportunity in a workshop to have more of a back and forth conversation. That was my initial focus for next Wednesday. If we need to tailor it more if it's more pressing that we do this with the furniture, then we can alter and just have a workshop to discuss the furniture for the upcoming purchases.
Can I make a suggestion, Judge?
Sure.
That you do make it, a workshop just for the furniture.
Okay.
And that way I can bring in, hopefully I can get Michael Lloyd in here because he has sent us what it'd take to
Right.
furnish that whole building.
Because that was in the original contract.
That was in the
Yeah.
original contract.
Right.
But then we took it out. So he could speak on that because I wasn't involved at that time in that process. And we could have people here that could answer your questions better than I can.
Commissioner Mallett, can you make 1 o'clock? Sure, you want to, other commissioners, does that sound reasonable? Can you schedule for 1 o'clock?
The workshop?
Yes. And it'll be a workshop to discuss furniture purchases for the move to the new Justice Center.
So what about the special meeting?
We're just, the special meeting? Make that at 1 o'clock and the workshop at 1:15.
you know, and I'm not real sure what contribution Michael Boyd could make at that meeting if in fact the focus is going to be on us talking with department heads about their request
Okay.
versus what they already have.
Okay, that's fine. It was just
I
a
don't want to waste
suggestion.
his time.
Okay, that's fine.
But I mean, it's at the pleasure of
Absolutely.
the court.
But
Whatever.
no, absolutely, I get it.
But then once it's time to figure out the buying, then we brought it down.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
Okay.
That's a good point. Any more questions on the furniture?
Sound like a fun project.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Let's go to, this is in your packet. It's, PMP project modification proposal 1909-018. It's not, it's not on the agenda. It's not on the agenda to make a decision. It's something that you need to be thinking about because I will bring it back to the next. This has to be thought of. I just want everybody to be aware. So this came to me in the meeting yesterday. We have a sealed concrete prisoner transport hallway floor. It kind of got surprised to me. I wasn't looking to, this had never been brought up to me until I seen it on the report. It's a resinous floor. Their reasoning for this would be it's easier to clean and it looks more finished.
More finished than what?
Sealed concrete. I'm gonna be honest with you, $15,590. My people can clean sealed concrete just as well as they can painted concrete.
So this is the corridor from the sheriff's department to the new building to walk prisoners back?
Yes, sir.
Do they have this type of flooring in their cells?
Not at this time, they will have. But that's a difference, and I'm glad you bring that up. Because this is the flooring that I'm, not at that price tag. This is what I'm gonna put into the cells, because we have found with our rejuvenation of the cells that they sit and they get bored and they pick paint. Well, you can't pick paint on resonant flooring. But they're not gonna be picking paint off in a hallway.
Yeah, that's not their residence. They're just
This is
walking.
not their residence. This is their way to the justice system.
And does the concrete floor meet jail standards?
Yes, sir.
So whose idea is it for this?
I don't know. It was brought up in the meeting, and I said, wait, what's this? And that's when they said that.
Who's they?
Michael Lloyd and Brad Gay.
Oh, okay. So
So-
the architect's the one that stimulated this conversation?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
So, I mean, I get it. I understand. If we had an unlimited amount of funds, it would be nice to have a resident floor, and when you bring in your tours or whatever, it looks, but instead of a sealed concrete. But that sealed concrete stops at the door, and then you got flooring into the building. It's not like the sealed concrete runs all the way, you know, it runs,
Cell.
that's right.
Okay.
So, just something to think about. I will be bringing that back to you, so you know how I feel about that. The next one, will look like this.
Jones and Carter,
Jones and Carter.
all right.
So, Jones and Carter has sent us a package for the new driveway going to 90. So we've got that laid out. We've got some, they talked to TxDOT. TxDOT said, well, wait, we want a traffic impact analysis. Jones and Carter said, we can do that. We have a traffic engineering department. So I said, wait. I need to know what that costs before we go any further. So they sent me the cost of it. The traffic analysis is gonna be $8,000. I'm not quite sure, because I'm not a civil person, what an estimated reimbursable expenses. If it's like every other engineering firm, that's travel and stuff like that. So the whole thing, just to get the traffic impact study done, or analysis, sorry. back in our day with studies. It's $8,200 for them to even get started, and that's just the traffic analysis.
So is this something that we are indeed obligated as a county to do? Or is this something that TxDOT can do and would do for a county?
TxDOT has required us to do this.
Where did we get that requirement from? How did they notify us of that?
They notified the architect and engineering firm. They won't send out whoever's requesting to join to their road, that's who they're gonna send this to.
Is Harry Walker out there?
In the door.
Harry?
Yes, sir.
Your past experience with TxDOT, good or bad? On this engineering study or this traffic study, is that standard operating procedure for, if we're trying to get it done, make that connection, specifically 90 to the new entrance, and they say that we need to do a traffic impact study, is that something that we as the county would always do, or is that something that if TxDOT can get us to do? 'Cause I'm willing to talk to Lance and see what the procedure is.
TxDOT's criteria, if the traffic volumes on the road you're tying into are a certain level, they require that TIA be performed. Normally, all those expenses are on the entity that's wanting to construct the new road. TxDOT's not creating a situation so you're gonna pay for it. Now, not to say they can't work with you and maybe work out an agreement. Certainly, TxDOT has people that can do that analysis.
Right.
What they have suggested in some of the comments that Al shared with me, they may want either a deceleration lane for the southbound traffic or a left turn lane, or possibly both. And that's what they're trying to analyze, is figure out what the configuration of that intersection needs to look like. But typically, if you were just a developer, you'd be paying all those expenses, yes.
Well, I get it, we're just a developer or a business, but we're a government entity just like they are.
You can always ask.
All right.
So,
And 90 is a higher volume traffic than 149, is why we don't have to do anything.
Right, but when we started this entire process way back when, I checked with TxDOT because the initial concern was with 149 where it hits into 90, is there gonna be enough line of sight where we're proposing to put our drive into 90, would that be acceptable? And I got a verbal okay, and then Commissioner Cox, I believe you said you wanted something in writing, which was not a bad idea. So I sent back and I got an email back, yes, that was going to be acceptable to do.
Okay,
But never from that point forward did anybody say, oh yeah, and by the way, you're gonna have to do a traffic impact study, and oh, by the way, if that study says you're gonna need a left turn, right turn, slow down acceleration, that's gonna be out of your pocketbook.
right, the
So-
question that was asked was, can we adjoin to 90? And the question that was answered was, sure,
Okay,
but, and they forgot the but. I mean, I'm not trying to be, but that's.
and I'm not looking for a fight with anybody, I just need, we, the court, need more information, so before we approve this, court, I would suggest that, give me a chance to go talk with Lance Simmons or Chad Boney and see if there's more detail that we need. I need to have that more details, so we're not walking blind on this.
Yeah, I agree, and
We're not approving this today,
I understand that.
so that gives you time to do what you need to do.
in dealing with TxDOT, I worked with them on the addition that's going on with the store here in town. And they told them in the beginning that they were gonna have to put in a turn lane right here in this curve.
Okay.
That's changed. They're not gonna have to do that, because I talked to Ian the other day and he said they dropped that. I think if we visit with them about this, I think we may be able to reach,
Well,
at least get some
that's right.
clarification like you said.
But even the $8,500 or $8,200 on the traffic study for Grimes County, that's a pretty big ticket. So, all right.
Well, I think we may want to put this road on a workshop agenda as well, because it's, it seems like every so often, the cost of it has just ballooned, in my opinion, beyond what I think the original intent was for this road, and I have some concerns about that. Certainly, I'd love to sit down in a workshop environment after you talk with TxDOT and go over some of my concerns, and I guess we could figure out, depending on what their requirements are, whether or not it's feasible even to continue forward with this road.
Well, okay, and I'm okay to do that, but I think that, well, we can discuss that. All right. Please, thank you, Harry. Please continue, Mr. Peeler. Is that it for the Justice Center? Oh,
So the Justice Center 2-week look ahead, we have all brick tie-ins laying ready to go next week. Hopefully, we're trying to get some things tied up inside, and then we'll go to 2 side interior walls. They're taping and floating some of it. We're still waiting on Entergy to get us a bill so that we can pay for the hookup out there to get some power. We're in a critical position now. Brad is working on that as we speak. That and our dirt work, we're 2 lifts from being complete on the driveway at 149. Boy, that's been a long haul. We are 99 days of rain delay, rain, mud, COVID delay. So we jumped ahead. We are June 6th, substantial, June 30th, final completion. Now, I believe that's gonna change. I think we're gonna still have 5 to 10 days in there that I would say we're gonna get some more rain coming up, so.
okay.
Okay. Any other questions, sir?
Yes, sir, can you address the storage building? Storage, I don't know, what are we calling it? The maintenance storage?
Maintenance storage building, I have worked on, I've drawn it up several times, and with the needs of other departments, the building has grown, and I am drawing it up at this time to fit everything in.
Okay, can we also add that topic of conversation to the workshop as well?
So you want furniture, driveway, storage building? That's fine. Because those were, the storage was one of the things I wanted to do in the initial workshop, so.
I mean, how do you want to...
John, how specific do we have to be? Can we just put workshop, new Justice Center associated topics?
You can certainly do that, you just have to put the public on notice what you're gonna talk about.
Okay.
If you wanna send it by me, I'll be happy to take a look at it.
Sheree will send that by you today.
And
Thank you.
one of the reasons is, I think I've discussed it with you, and you have indicated that area has expanded in size substantially.
Yeah.
It has 24, it started off as a 24 by 24 garage, and now we're up to a 60 by 100. And I have less room than some storage areas.
You meaning your department?
My department, sorry, my 421 maintenance department has less area than some storage areas.
I just think we need to put an eyeball on that, make sure we're going down the right road.
I'm glad to. Okay. Anything else on the Justice Center? All right, jail.
And what day is that? Because that's the day I'm gonna be sick.
Next Wednesday.
February 10th.
Thank you.
At the end of the day.
Nothing on the jail?
Nothing, no, absolutely nothing.
Are they fired back up on the mold cleaning?
No,
Is somebody keeping you out? Because the sheriff said they can come back in.
no. I got that, but we gotta have, because we put them off for 6 to 7 months,
Uh-huh.
we have to get back on the trend.
But you're talking about the company to do it?
Yeah.
Got it, thank you. Well, that was easy. All right. Agenda item number 9, Grimes County Human Resource Director Talib Coleman. Discuss and take action to update Grimes County COVID leave policy, attachment number 9. Commissioners, we talked about, we needed to do something, or we needed at least to review the COVID policy. I'd ask y'all if you had any input or thoughts to send them to Toledo, and then Toledo and I would work together, putting together a proposed change. Did you get any input after you and I put the policy together?
Not,
Or
no.
the procedure?
After we, no.
Okay. So, why don't you take it from here, Toledo, and suggest, or tell us,
So, first, good morning. You have it in 2 parts. So, what we had in place prior to this was a suggested protocol. We never really actually had a COVID leave sick paid policy. So what I did is, after researching with some of the other counties and the CDC recommendation, the first one that you have is the COVID-19 paid sick leave. This is my recommendation for the court, that the court will provide up to 10 days for employees to be eligible for 10 days of paid sick leave, which is subject to an 80-hour cap for full-time employees. Part-time regular employees are eligible to receive the paid sick leave for work hours within a 2-week period as designated by the court, because our part-times don't just work 40 hours. Some are budgeted at 56, some are budgeted for less. They would be able to use this 80 hours for whether it's taking care of somebody in their household, whether they were exposed, they tested positive, and then basically after the 80 hours, the employee, if needed more time, would go into their personal leave, which would be sick, vacation, or any bank holiday time that they had. I also included the reasons that employees should be quarantined, which there's 4 different ones that whether it's subject to local quarantine isolation. Some of this is taken from the Coronavirus Act that expired December 31st. If they're experiencing symptoms and seeking medical diagnosis, or if the employee is caring for an individual who is subject to paragraphs 1 or 2.
Is this like a one-time thing if they had it or quarantine and then
That would be
got it
it.
again? Is this just a annual thing, or is it a one-time thing, or?
That
I
would be
guess that's
something
what
for the court to decide, because we have been up until this point paying people regardless of what they're quarantined for, how many exposures they had. There's been no limitation to the hours that the employees can use. The court can decide that this starts now and that this is available to all employees. Or the court can decide that if you've already used the 80 hours, I mean, it's up to you on how the court wants to go, but it could be something that the court could do annually.
And it kind of varies between counties what they do. Some don't do anything.
Some don't do anything. After that act expired, there's a lot of counties that require their employees to use their own personal sick time. They stopped the paid leave.
this is not overly generous what's being proposed, but it is somewhat generous in compared to a number of other counties.
It's basically keeping the act that expired December 31st, which was the federal law that said that we were required through December 31st to allow employees 80 hours of paid leave due to exposure to the coronavirus.
I certainly understand where this is coming from. I have concerns about whether we're actually to the point that we should implement this now. And the reason being is because, you know, if you're just watching the news, the vaccine protocols and distribution with those is, they're having some issues with those. It's difficult right now for everybody that wants a vaccine to get a vaccine. And I certainly don't want and would not want folks coming back to work because they don't have any time ill with COVID, because I don't think that does anybody any good. We're shutting down departments and creating issues where folks get sick just because they're out of time. Do I think we'll probably at some point reach this? Yes, but I don't necessarily know that today or this time period right now is the right time to do it.
Okay.
That's one opinion. Other opinions?
I agree with Commissioner Cox, because that's been my concern that I conveyed to her, that if you're out of personal time and you are struggling or you've been exposed and you're not sure, we talked about those in closed session. Do I come back because I'm showing symptoms, but I keep getting a negative? That would concern me, that you may be forcing them back to work to provide for their families, but at the same time exposing other workers or that department to where we actually end up shutting down whole entire departments and compensating more people because that person was out of, time. So there is a such thing as long haulers, and we talked about the chronic part of this, and people are finding themselves with lung damage and heart damage that they didn't anticipate. At what point do they become chronic? That was part of the discussion. So I think with what he said, I agree that we not just force them or just without good reasoning to come back to work and possibly expose other people.
My question is, how many employees have we had that's gone over the 80 hours at this point?
I didn't bring that in with me, but it's been quite a few.
Okay.
That was that Excel chart, that color chart that you presented earlier.
I remember that.
So the only reason why I'm suggesting that we cap, not because I don't want people to get paid, it's just, we did have some instances where our employees were being treated as COVID, but they never tested positive. And we don't allow this time for any other sick. There is flu out there. There is the stomach flu. That just went through my household last week. We don't do it for any other illnesses, as you're talking about chronic part. So we don't allow any of this type of leave code for any other chronic illnesses.
But I think what I referred to when you referred to that was direct exposure.
Correct.
To these particular people, and that there was that possibility that although I'm getting a negative test, I did come in direct contact, and it's a possibility. You get false results just like you get false negatives just like you get false positives. So who's to say, especially if in light of I'm coming in direct contact.
Right, and that's if you can say that it's direct contact. But we have a lot of employees that we can't pinpoint where their direct contact was from. So it's just an option for the court. I'm perfectly content either way that you go. I'm just bringing it to your attention that we don't actually have any type of policy in place. What we have is a suggested protocol, and that was more so, which is the other document that I provided for you, is when they come exposed to COVID-19.
And I had asked Talita to do the research, and I will tell you, she did the yeoman's job of putting this together. But she had also brought up, which was a concern to me, that because some of the other illnesses that our employees might deal with, she wanted to also protect us from a lawsuit of why are you treating this illness this way and not treating another chronic type of illness in the same way or with the same latitude and benefit. So thought it was a good idea for us to get something together, at least we as a court talk about it. I have no reservations about putting it on, you know, a 2-month hold, at least, you know, carry us through the first or the second quarter of the year. That'll give us another 60 days or so, 55 days down the road to see where vaccines are going. And I don't know that we can follow the science because it changes every other day, but you know.
My suggestion to the board is we just need to come up with some type of policy. It's for protection of the county.
Right.
Because right now we don't have any type of actual policy. It was a suggested protocol, and it just was for quarantine if you were exposed, which if you, on your other sheet, it's basically the same. Quarantine themselves in their home for 5 days from the date of notified of exposure and minimize exposure to others. Work from home if possible. And then maximum quarantine period is the 10 days, which that's from the CDC now. Basically, all of those are the same as the suggested protocol. I really didn't change any of that. I just took out the suggested to actual protocol. And then I actually put down there from the CDC website, which is the Center of Disease Control Prevention, what is the definition of an actual exposure?
So on the protocols that here, there's a couple. Who gets the information that the employee is negative, or the doctor's note that allows them to return to work? Do they don't have to provide that to their immediate supervisor? Or?
No, because it has a diagnosis, and that's in violation of HIPAA. That they can give doctor's notes to their direct supervisor that says so-and-so is eligible to return back to work on this date, but all of the ones that I've gotten now have been stating an actual diagnosis, and by HIPAA laws that can only go in their HR medical file.
Okay.
Now, they can verbally tell their employee, but the actual documentation is kept in the HR office.
Right.
Yeah. I was going to say, I've spoken to a number of doctors in the last month or so about the virus, and they said if you don't have it within 10 days, which is 2 tests, and that's our policy, you get 2 negative tests and you get to come back to work, because most of them are saying within 5 days. If you've been exposed and you're going to get it, you're going to have symptoms within 5 days. That's what the doctors are saying. I'm not going to say that's the science, but that's what the doctors are telling me, and I've spoken to a number of them, and it's been pretty consistent. And some of them have even had the virus themselves.
And once you wait at least 5 days
Yeah.
from exposure to
Yes. You wait 5 days from exposure to get the test, and then 5 more days.
But perhaps since this subject is such a important topic, maybe a workshop to discuss this. Yeah, you said throw the workshops out there. I'm throwing it.
Oh, y'all started specializing it.
You know, I'm throwing it out there because, you know, you get a lot of mixed information, you know, but maybe going through what we're examining, even on your sheets that you put a lot of effort into, that we've glanced over, that maybe we should look at more in depth, and maybe can talk about, you know, particular situations, because not only have we heard the recommendations have changed, we know that on day 14, we've seen it show up day 14.
Right.
So, you know, that was a recommended times, but that's not to say that's maybe the rule.
Right. It's suggested.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there seems to be a consensus that we're not ready to update, so Sheree, I'm just going to ask, we'll take no action on this. I'll ask you to put it back on the agenda for the first court in April, and if we're not ready to make a decision, then we'll put it into a workshop for additional discussion and information. Does that sound
I would
reasonable?
suggest that we do a workshop prior to presenting it back to the court. Because if we present it back to the court without a
Thank you.
workshop, it's going to be suggested that we have a workshop, and then we're not going to.
Yeah, but we'll still hold off on the workshop. Make a reminder for me, Sheree, on that sometime in March, we'll look at putting a workshop together. We're a little further down the road. We'll have a little more information, a little bit more done on the vaccines and so forth, so.
T, have you seen other counties' policies?
Just in conversating back and forth in email of what they have. There's a lot of counties that are in the same situation that we're in. They're trying to get a policy established, but a lot of them completely took it away once that the act expired December 31st, and is requiring their employees to use their own time. Which is not what I'm suggesting you support at all.
I was gonna say, perhaps we can put it on listserv and get some feedback.
I can see if anybody else has any actual policies. I can go back to the information that was already provided. But no, I did do some research prior to putting this together.
One of the things I'd like to see, just throwing it out there, I don't see anything on these policies or protocols that say the employee needs to contact their boss. And I think that's important. I think the boss has an obligation to make some decisions on this as well.
The boss is the one who normally informs me first.
Well, this says if they test positive, to notify you immediately. Who
Right.
is that?
That's either the employees or the supervisor. Most of the time, it's been the supervisor that's been, I'm not saying that they need to take their supervisor out completely. That's not what this is, and that's not the policy that we've been following here lately. It's the supervisors that have been notifying me of their employees.
Okay.
This is just for test results.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Agenda item number 10, Vanessa Brzezinski, Grimes County Clerk. Consider and take action to approve scanning and preservation of the World War I Military Defense Council minute books, the missing pages from deed book B2, B as in Baker, and 10 Commissioners Court minute books and associated maps.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Okay.
Morning.
So I have two projects to present to you today for your consideration. The first, as you can see, is a picture of the minutes, Council of Defense military roster. This is actually a World War I book. It's just one book, but as you can see, it's in very bad shape. The pages are very brittle, but there's a lot of good historical information. All the minutes from this Council of Defense is in this book, as well as newspaper articles from World War I time period, and all of the Grimes County men who enlisted to fight, with all of their information, and if somebody was killed in action, that's documented in this book as well. So it's a very historical book. I would love to see this book preserved. As you can see, it was probably a very beautiful book when it was brand new. The vendor cannot replicate this cover, but he said he could make a custom cover for this book to be preserved in the county. And to preserve that book would be $2,610 total. Also on that proposal, I had a deed record book preserved that y'all approved a couple months back that had missing pages. Well, we've actually found those missing pages. There's 618 pages that were missing. So we just need to incorporate those missing pages into that book. And that's $2,163. And that's to scan the pages, preserve the pages, and put them in the existing binder that he had already created for that book. The other proposal is kind of a continuation of what we started a few months ago with the Commissioners Court minutes books. So we had done 7 Commissioners Court minute books. They've been completed and delivered. They're beautiful. I meant to bring one today, forgot, sorry about that. So this is an additional 10 books that would complete the bound books, the old bound books, in that collection. And the total of that project is $29,341.98. And that would complete the project for the Commissioners Court minutes books. The reason why there's some maps included is because apparently there were some maps included in the minutes. So he just kind of priced those out separately because they're oversized. I'm not sure how they're going to do that, but he promised me that they'll look good. So, these Commissioners Court minutes books are old. They're in very poor condition. And it's the only record we have of our county's business. And if something were to happen to those books, we would lose that history. And so it's very crucial that we get these done before they deteriorate more.
And the reason you bring this to us because you don't have the money in your budget, is that correct?
Oh, no, that is not correct. So when we did the budget time, I didn't have any proposals ready at that time. So they didn't budget any money to be spent. But if you'll look at page 4 of your agenda, there is, at the top, Fund 21. I've left mine over there. It's over $200,000 in that fund.
But Jesse, isn't that the fund that y'all were having to audit because yes, some portion was county clerks, but also some was district clerks and others?
It was county-wide records, yes.
Countywide,
And so,
okay. Has that audit been completed?
No, sir. We had asked back in September of 2020
Yes,
that that all future projects be placed on hold until we can complete that audit.
Okay.
With the events that have happened recently, we have not completed that audit. And then also.
And those events have been with Mayor Nichols leaving, you moving
that they
in,
changed
hiring 2 other people, 1 other resigned?
that,
Okay.
and then the loss of the treasurers and trying to help fill
Okay.
in that.
Okay.
So, yes. So we're still in that same position where we ask that the future projects be placed on hold at this moment until we can finish our audit.
Does your crystal ball suggest when the audit might be complete?
I am pushing for us to have it complete by the budget process, so for fiscal year 2022.
Okay.
And we start that process in a few months.
Yeah.
So that my goal is to have it at least done by July while we're still in the middle of that process.
Where are the, Vanessa, where are these records at currently? In
They're
your-
currently in the vault of where Mary Johnson's office
Oh, okay,
is. Yes, sir,
okay.
that's where they are.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, and there's 10 of these Commissioners Court books.
They shouldn't deteriorate too much more between now and July, should they?
No, but the sooner the better.
Sure.
Okay, that's my theory. But I want to just kind of bring up a couple things to you. So I handed out to you a fund distribution report that I put on your desk. It looks like this, right in front of you. And it shows how much money our office has collected in management funds for fiscal year 2020 and this year. It's two-sided. So my office collects a fee specifically for records management. And in fiscal year 2020, Fund 21 brought in $71,980. As of today, it has collected $26,700 for a total of $98,680 that my office has collected for records preservation since October 2019. The audit that the auditors is working on is nothing to do with this fund.
It actually is.
Well, they're tied together.
Everything is.
But they're auditing court costs.
We're auditing all of Fund 21.
Not records management, property record fees. They're auditing court cost fees, which is totally different. Yes, both fees go to the same fund, but we're not talking about a huge difference.
Okay.
Well, I think, and I may be rusty on this, but I think at one time, when a person paid court costs, part of those court cost fees, a percentage, was records management fee.
That's correct. And the law changed in 2020 to where the full amount of that fee goes directly to the county clerk, not the county.
Okay.
And so we have been doing that. So this reflects that. And I understand and I appreciate what they're doing, getting this audit done and, getting everything squared away.
Sure.
because I know it's a lot of work, and I appreciate what they're doing. But at the same time, I have projects I need to get done, and I hate to delay them when I know that there's funds available.
My thought would be, let's make sure that the audit that they're doing is ensuring that you do have the amount of money that's there. And then my other point was, if we don't rush things, we won't miss pages like we found just recently. So that when we do books, we're completing a book. We're not backtracking and
Right,
having people come
and
back
that was
in.
kind of strange. I mean, I don't know how, the book had fallen apart literally, and so that's how, somehow the pages got separated. But I'm glad that we're able, there are still some missing pages still, but we found the bulk of them, which is a good thing. But those are not in a binder, they're just loose. And, you know, I want to get those. And that book has already been started, okay? So,
Are they binding these books, or are these books
yes,
like
it's
a
called
loose
a
leaf you
mechanical
can
binder
add?
to where they bring in sleeves.
Mm-hmm.
And I should have brought it with me. And so you can actually take the book apart if you had to, but they're scanning these pages too. So, but no, it's not a bound book. It's a book that you could actually take apart if you have to. So it would be very simple for them to, once they get these missing pages in there, to add them to the existing book.
If they're scanning those, will folks be able to access those online?
Yes, they sure will. Same with the Commissioner's Court minutes. Right now, none of them are online. So once we get all these scanned, they'll all be available online to the public.
I am absolutely for getting these records preserved. I think that is absolutely important to our county's history. What I'm going to suggest, though, is that let's wait to get this additional project started for two reasons. One, let the auditors have a chance at getting their business done and they're satisfied that the money's the money. I understand what you're saying. There's enough money here, new money, that's not in question. But with the upcoming move and the movement of all of these documents either into storage or into your records,
Yes.
some of these others, as Commissioner Walker is sort of suggests, maybe something else is going to turn up.
Oh,
And then-
absolutely. I'm sure we're gonna find all kinds of stuff when we start moving.
But at that point, I would ask you, Vanessa, then to bring it back to us.
Okay.
Let us go ahead and approve it at that time, when you kind of have your arms around everything.
Uh-huh.
And maybe, well, once and for all, have a final of what the records preservation's
Okay,
gonna
can I
be.
make a suggestion? I would like to suggest that we put those 10 Commissioners' Court books on hold like you recommended.
Okay.
But I would really strongly like to get that missing deed book put back together. And I would also like to get this World War I book done. The total for both of those is $4,773. Considering that there's over $200,000 in that budget line item, I don't see where that would be a problem.
Considering what? I'm sorry.
The amount of money that's in that fund.
There's nothing budgeted.
Well, I
for
know
this
there's
year
nothing
for the
budgeted, but
expenses.
there is
I
money.
just wanted to clarify.
Yes.
So you said there's nothing budgeted?
No.
They didn't put any money in there because I didn't have any projects. I didn't have a figure to give them to put in there. Usually I ask for like $80,000.
But we have a dedicated fund that has money in it.
Yes, sir.
We just didn't budget any money coming out of that dedicated fund for records preservation, is that right?
Because we're in the middle of auditing it.
Right.
Because, yes.
Okay.
But there is a income in that line item of $67,000 projected, which we've gone well over that, so.
But, okay, so let me ask this question from the auditor, and I guess the question sparked from what the training we went through yesterday. If we gave Vanessa permission to use some of that money, we know it's there, but it wasn't budgeted, would that be considered I know it's not considered an extreme emergency, but is that a violation of the budgeting process? Because it was hammered into us yesterday, once the budget's done, that is now a legal document. So any changes that we make to that legal document have to come through court And I
It'd be
understand,
like a budget amendment, I
ma'am,
guess. Yes.
say again?
I said, would that be like a budget amendment?
I'm not smart enough to answer that question, that's why I'm kind of asking Jesse, and,
So normally your budget amendments are prepared due to unforeseen emergencies.
okay.
And yet it would have to come before as a budget amendment, but it's what the court considers as an unforeseen emergency.
I mean, I understand there's a claim that there may be money in that fund, and absolutely there is. We can see that, but we're still trying to figure out how much of that money remains for county clerk use and the other for county-wide use prior to the law changing
Right,
2 years ago,
right.
or a year ago, 2 years ago, whenever the law changed.
Yeah, yes, last year, yes, sir.
So, there have been projects that have been requested, and I don't know how much, if any of that money has already been committed to those projects, or is it stagnant until we figure out where it is? But I think that may be prudent. It's certainly something I think we probably need to look at, but let's let everybody get everything leveled out, and you may find out you have more money than you actually think.
Oh, well, that would be nice. That would definitely be nice. The only thing that really concerns me is that deed book with the missing pages. Trying to get that put back together so that they're not lost again.
Well, we had previously budgeted getting the deed book preserved, right?
Yes, that book was approved to be preserved. We just now have the missing pages to that book. So technically, that project's already been approved. We just have more pages to add to it, technically.
And that's a 600, you said?
It was
600 pages?
18 pages. That's $2,163.
Yeah.
But it wasn't budgeted beforehand, we actually had a budget amendment previously on that?
Actually, it was approved, I think, last budget year.
Yeah, I think so.
It was right about the end of last budget year, I think.
But you had money most likely on that, right now you don't have a budget item, or budget,
Right.
Well, and had we had the 600
Line item
pages,
for
what we
this.
budgeted would have been more, because they would have,
That's true.
yeah, because we don't have a line item here, so it would require budget amendments. I think that's the issue we're dealing with right now as well.
I know you have anxiousness on your part, but I'm gonna ask that we finish the audit and
Okay.
get lined up for our budget process.
All right, I appreciate it.
Is that a consensus, commissioners?
Yeah.
Just to take, we're taking action, we're taking no
No, I
action?
get it, I
Okay.
understand it, and I appreciate y'all's consideration.
I appreciate the homework
Thank you.
you've done, very much.
Thank you.
You go ahead, sorry, I'm in
Okay. We're going to agenda item number 12. This is discuss and take action on the Blue Jay Solar 381 agreement. Blue Jay?
We're skipping,
Oh, who did I skip? Oh, Harry, I'm sorry. Harry, Road and Bridge, I'm sorry. I already saw you once, you just got you out of my mind.
We opened bids on the GLO grant project related to Hurricane Harvey on the 19th. Unfortunately, we didn't get very good results. We only had 2 bidders showed up. And the engineer's estimate for the project was $256,000. The low bidder came in at $560,000 with all the alternates. So we're recommending that these bids be rejected. We're going to repackage the project and see what we can do to bring the cost down. My feeling is that we will end up, we need the grant project was $334,000. When you take all the consultant fees and everything out, there's about $250,000 available for construction. We're trying to repackage it with alternates and cutting back on the work to get it down to there. My feeling is we're probably not going to be able to do that. The excess will probably end up being done as force account work by Road and Bridge. So similar to what we did on the 2015 grant. We did the paving work out there ourselves. So that's the fallback if we can't get the contractor prices down within the budget.
If you repackage this and we go back out for bid, are we going to have an issue with the grant deadline by any chance?
We need to be careful of that. This is supposed to be a smaller project. We've got until the end of September to get the work done.
Okay, September of 22?
The 21.
September of 21, okay.
I think we've got plenty of time, but in this case, the GLO will allow us to extend that deadline if we request it, if we need it. On the hurricane, the 2015 grant, we weren't allowed to extend the deadline because their block grant was expiring.
Right.
This is out of the new block grant.
Right, okay.
And they've got 6 years, so.
Okay.
An extension should be fairly straightforward if we need it. I don't think we'll need it. We're gonna try and have this back out to bids next month. And hopefully we'll have plenty of time with the smaller package to get everything done without having an extension.
Okay.
Anyway, the consulting engineer had recommended we reject the bids, and I concur with that. That's our recommendation to y'all.
Thank you. Are we okay with that recommendation?
Yes.
Do we need a motion probably to reject them, or is it just we don't
Yes,
award? Okay. I move to reject the bids for Hurricane Harvey GLO.
Second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 11 by Commissioner Mallett, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carries. Those bids are rejected. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Agenda item number 12, discuss and take action on Blue Jay Solar 381 agreement providing all contract language is correct. Agenda item number, or the attachment number 12. It is my understanding, and I don't want to speak for anybody, but it's the information that I have, is that we have indeed reached agreement. Is that correct, Mr. Foltz?
That's my understanding, Judge.
Morning, Craig.
Morning.
Kenya? Steve? It's our understanding that we have language that's acceptable and all the language has been agreed upon.
Yes, sir.
All right. Commissioners, do you have any questions for the Blue Jay project?
I did,
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I didn't, but since Mr. Leeper is here, just making sure that you receive the information since you represent the committee that's overseeing, helping us with this project.
Yes, it is in line with the recommendations of the committee.
Okay.
I move to approve the Blue Jay Solar 381 agreement with the language provided.
Second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 12 by Commissioner Mallett, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. Is there further discussion?
Can I point something out real quick? I just want to point out, we actually forgot to update the address for the notices in the agreement. So if you want afterwards, we can just scratch through and use it has our address instead of Anel's address. But I think you could just scratch through and write it. It's the one that's in the updated application. So.
Does that work, Mr. Foltz?
Judge, just so that we're clear, the attachment that the court has today, number 12, doesn't have the changes that were approved, whatever, the last 2 days.
I believe that I have
Attorney's
the
fees, right. I think everybody's been included on it. As far as I know, it's a minor change, and it was one that we required, and so they haven't had an objection to our request. If possible, I would like to have, to be sure that Corey brings you the final.
Sure.
And there's also an order and a form for an order to be signed.
Sure.
So I'd ask that you all approve it today, orally, but that Corey brings the final document, and since we have that time, we'll make that final change if that's okay.
Great, thank
Does
you.
that
I
work?
want to be sure that I don't screw up attachment of Exhibit A or anything else that happened in the last 2 days.
I understand.
I want to be sure she gets the right document, but as I understand, you all have seen it. If there was a change, it was the change that essentially we requested.
Correct.
So since she sent this, didn't she send it yesterday? So there is an
It's
additional
final as of
change?
yesterday, but the attachment is not the final one.
Okay.
Obviously, it went out at least 3 days ago.
Okay, there's a motion. Any other comments? There's a motion before the court by Commissioner Mallett, seconded by Commissioner Dobianski. Final time, are there any final comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion carries. Congratulations, guys.
And thank
Welcome to
you
the
all.
neighborhood and take care of it very, very well.
Thank you, Mr. Leeper, for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, you bet.
We'll go to agenda item number 13, discuss and take action regarding possible move of Stoneham EMS to Todd Mission location. Reason this is on the agenda is there's been discussion. Mr. Walker, are you out there still? Okay, there you are. I don't want to say anything that's not correct, so correct me if I say something wrong, but the county is in the process of trying to vacate the Stoneham property. Mr. Walker's worked with Mr. Foltz with the school district on trying to find out who owns that property and how it works. At that location, we have the Road and Bridge South Barn. We have EMS located at that facility. We have solid waste for the county located at that facility. Mr. Walker is pretty much, not completely, but has pretty much got most everything that he needs from that location up to the 2445 location, the new South Barn location. The conversation then went, okay, I'm working with John C. on getting who has legal authority for that land and the possibility of the school district deeding something over to us, and then we put the property up for sale, which would then leave solid waste and EMS. And then Harry and I had some conversation, casual conversation, that there might be some concern if the property did sell, that the septic system would go with the barn, and that would leave the EMS high and wet, not high and dry, with no septic system. And I then said, you know what, I'm going to call Neil down at Todd Mission, the city manager down there. Would they be in a position to take possession of EMS down there? And then that would only leave solid waste at the Stoneham location. When I called Neil, good morning, Neil. When I called Neil, he said, we've got the dirt, we've got the light pole, we've got the septic system. I'm even in a position to help pay for the move of the building. And I said, hallelujah. So I put it on the agenda, and I got a call from Commissioner Walker, rightfully so, because she's our liaison with the hospital and the EMS. And she had some concerns, maybe we're moving too fast, or we had not properly brought St. Joe's into the discussion. But in my casual discussion with Mr. Walker, with Neil, is Billy here?
I'm ready.
You're, okay. I don't know that I've met you, Billy. I met your predecessor, Patrick?
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess you're involved with the or in charge of the EMS?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the comment was that you had conversation with Billy, and the way I understood it, I didn't get all the detail, but the way I understood it, that St. Joe's was okay with moving it down to the Todd Mission location. Thus, it's on the agenda. But Commissioner Walker, if you care to repeat your concerns, feel free to do that.
Yes, sir. In speaking with you about this agenda item, I guess my concern was, where did the conversation come from to move Todd Mission when you had liaisons, Commissioner Mallett and myself? We communicate, with CHI. We've been having monthly meetings, December, January, and we've been in meeting for the last few years. All meeting as a team to work through all of the initiatives that we're hearing from our citizens according to our strategic plan, that we keep a review on the response times, on the quality of service we're receiving. And we've been steadily making improvements, and I applaud CHI for doing an outstanding job pivoting in such a critical time where we're in a health crisis that the world has never seen before. So I appreciate everything that they've done. They've listened to the desires that came out of meetings, and they've made sure that Grimes County citizens received quality treatment. Back in 2008, when the citizens put forth a request to the Commissioner's Court that they needed an ambulance service in that area, the Commissioner's Court heard them. They sought to get with CHI, and that's where this ambulance that was then placed at this location that we offered them, they could have, room there, and we tied it into our system. Now, the concern is, in a series of meetings we had, we determined from the data we have that that ambulance is at the best located, this is the best location at this time for the ambulance, due to the fact of that ambulance has to cover so much area, and the movement of it would stress other medical areas that the ambulances serve. It would expand those. The concern from the citizens that I'm hearing is, you have a bay that they advocated for that's located next to a highway that is a major artery that sees major incidents, particularly in the last few years. 105 has gotten more dangerous. You also have an aging population in that area that have a concern and that help advocate to get that ambulance there. And we keep talking about the growth of the area. Our whole county is growing. So it's pertinent that we keep an eye on the entire county. Our county is almost 64 or 65 miles from top to bottom. So it's imperative that we know where these ambulances are situated, can cut down on response time, and can help with patient outcomes once they get to the hospital and receive the care they get there. We also have an elementary school that sits in that area that should the need arise for us to get to there, we can get to there quickly. The thing that concerns me the most is, with the health crisis that we've seen, we asked back in 2018 that they consider bringing in what we call a transfer truck, and I know you don't like that name, Billy.
He changed it officially, by the way.
Okay, but we called it a transfer truck at the time. That transfer truck has now, in this health crisis, become another ambulance that is now serving the citizens of Grimes County on a full-time basis. It's not just a peaker truck, it's not just a transport truck. Because when you get to these facilities, major facilities, hospital, they're sitting in the bay for hours before a patient can be admitted to the hospital. And after that, then the vehicle has to be sanitized before it's put back into rotation. So through the graciousness of CHI St. Joseph, they've even started sending, through our requests prior to COVID, we had an area that we felt had a lag in time, and they started sending Medic 14, which is out of College Station, St. Joseph, am I correct? Over to help cover the King Oaks area and that Iola Keith area, so that it would cut down on response times. Now I'm talking, but we have the professionals here who can speak to this a little bit more. And Judge, if you don't mind, I'd like for them to come to the podium and speak on it.
Before we bring them up, I just add just a little bit more to, again, why I put this on the agenda. Because when I mentioned to Harry that we could possibly, I'll talk to Neil, see if we get it moved down to Todd Mission, his initial comment, I'm not putting the heat on him, that sounds like a good idea because it gives him some more room to work around. Because one of the things that we wanted to do with our solid waste was people drive in and now they got to back out. But if we didn't have, correct me if I'm wrong here, if we didn't have the EMS there, we could configure that solid waste while people could drive in, make a circle, so to speak, and drive back out. So we'd have more of a flow than people dumping trash. So again, it was just what my conversation with Harry, and I said, let me talk to Neil, and then Neil said yes. And part of my reasoning for even considering something like this is, one, ease of getting rid of the Stoneham location and reestablishing it more effectively for solid waste. With 249 coming through, putting it down at Todd Mission, in my head, it was a good location because now the ambulance could fairly easily hit 249 and have access through that area. And it would, and I don't know how often Billy can maybe give the information, but I don't know how many times the ambulances had to wait on trains because you got 2 train tracks that come out of that area up to the 105. So,
well, I'm glad you spoke to that, Judge, because in our conversation, I talked to you about, as a court, we put liaisons in place. You put Commissioner Mallett, Commissioner Cox to oversee the building committee for the Justice Center.
Sure.
And information flowed to this court from them in their respective places. No one considered Commissioner Mallett and I into this conversation, who are the mouthpiece to St. Joseph in our attempts to work as a team. I thought there should have been due consideration to us to pull us into this conversation that you're having with Neil and Harry, because it's up to Grimes County commissioners to decide for county properties on what transpires. We are piecemealing some of these things we're doing if we don't sit down, and I brought this up before. We as a court need to look at all county assets, facilities, property, and plan. I think we've hastily, maybe I'm saying it wrong, we've moved too fast in this. Because at my last conversation with our county attorney, we were working out a plan to where if we get the property next door, that ambulance bay could then swing around and still serve the citizens of that area exactly where it is. You have more than enough room there to do whatever you need to do. We're talking about 2 acres. The idea of potentially landlocking our own selves by not doing preparation to make a decision on what should be sold and what shouldn't be sold, we could potentially landlock our own selves should the adjourning property decide they don't want to go that direction. So I think that a lot of the things are speaking to this agenda item. I think it has been hurried. I don't think we've done our full investigation according to the information I recently received, that we are trying our best to make sure that septic system stays in that, sewer stays in that area. I think it's just important to the citizens in all of Grimes County that we position ambulances where they need to be to serve the citizens of Grimes County in a responsive, effective manner. Just moving it south because they've already prepared a septic system or electrical plug does not line up potentially with the vision of this county and the vision of St. Joseph, who is the contractor of those ambulances. They have a say in this conversation also. So I think, and I've made this recommendation before, that we need to slow down. We need to look at what Grimes County has, come to an agreement on how we intend to proceed to get rid of property. Now, maybe Mr. Walker, he doesn't know what that ambulance bay means to the citizens of Grimes County. So, as a city, Mr. Wendell has the ability to talk to St. Joseph, am I correct? If that city decides they want to do something on their own. Our responsibility, to me, is to the citizens of Grimes County in our unincorporated areas. Should the city of Navasota say, hey, we're going to get our own, we're going to do our own ESD or whatever, that would be up to that municipality to decide that. But right now, we have a contractor and a contract that says they have exclusive rights within Grimes County to operate. And that operation has been based upon their ability to respond, their financial stability, and all of those things come into play. Now, I'm going to ask Commissioner Mallett, I don't want to take up all the time. If there's something you need to add to the conversation, you're more than welcome.
I think you've covered it pretty well. I think the main issue, I believe you brought it up, was response times in a centrally located position in the southern part of the county. Because if you move it too far toward Navasota, it'd be a long response time to get back that direction. So
You are
overall average response time, you'd be expanding that response time.
Okay.
And that's something that I would like to see also, is the response times in the areas, if, the calls that we're getting in the south end. Because I received several calls yesterday afternoon, and both of the people wanted me to voice their concerns. Willoughby Bohack called me and said that she was against moving it to the south, and Miss Hendricks called me. They're concerned at the distance down there. But as you pointed out, we will have 249 there to get them there quicker. But still, I want to see the response times and the number of calls that they have in the areas down there before we move on.
And CHI's done a great job. They have some software. They're collecting a lot of great data as far as response times. It's a lot better than it used to be as far as what we would get as far as, response and on scene times and everything else. So,
yeah.
And they're breaking it down and giving us some really good data.
And they are prepared to do a presentation in the future to show just that. In fact, we just talked about that in December and also in this last meeting that we had. My concern is all of those ambulances work as a unit. And when something may potentially be out of order, you are increasing the coverage and the wear and tear of vehicles for CHI St. Joseph. You are expanding areas that are already greatly expanded, and we're trying to cut down on times for all areas of Grimes County. So not only does that area serve Stoneham, Todd Mission, Plantersville, it goes over as far west as the prisons off of 6. It goes wherever they position them as the changes occur throughout, the cycle of the day. We have an administrator who's on board, who has her eyes on everything. We've come a long way from 2018 to now, and we have been super excited to have Billy leading this group. Him and his team have done an awesome job. Billy, I think when this conversation began was in 2019. Billy wasn't here at that time. Billy has come on, he's learning, he's investigating, he's charting. They're doing all of these great initiatives to make sure that they can present the picture of Grimes County so that the citizens would know that they are being taken care of in the best manner possible. And I'm afraid that moving that station would then hamper those, efforts. And that concerns me.
Okay,
Can
but
I-
hang on just a minute, please, Commissioner, because what this agenda item says, discuss and take action regarding possible move of Stoneham EMS to Todd Mission. Possible doesn't say it's definite. And
Yeah.
Commissioner, had I not put this on the agenda for today, we wouldn't be having this discussion. Because you didn't put it on the agenda to update us, or Commissioner Mallard, you didn't put it on here to update us. Alls I'm trying to do is figure out what is the best for the county based on a conversation that I had with Harry Walker and his comment of, oh, that would be good. Now, it had nothing to do with response times or what have you, but then when I talked with Neil, and oh, he's already got a pad location ready to go, well, that just adds to my thought process, and that's closer to the 249 intersection of 1774 and or the connections that Harry's working on with some of the other roads going into 249. So I'm not trying to disrupt what St. Joe's doing at all. You know, they're the ones that are going to have the data and tell us of what's working or what's not working. But this was put on the agenda so we could have some discussion. And the idea of we're moving too fast, I appreciate that. But my opinion of our government is we move too slow. We wait till one thing's done and something else is done and something else is done. And in the meantime, we could have had it all done at the same time to some degree. Commissioner Cox, you got a comment?
Do you mind, Commissioner? Sure. Once again, we have been updating during the strategic plan. We just recently had a meeting about strategic items. This was a strategic item and we updated at that time. I also spoke to you about putting on the agenda the presentation that we heard in December and in January from CHI St. Joseph.
If you told me that, I don't recall that.
I just told you that several times, sir. I also invited you in.
You invited me to the last meeting if Chad Mallett wasn't going to be there.
This is about the third meeting I've invited you to.
Okay.
And so it was all in an effort to enlighten the court, and of course they have been busy navigating a health crisis. So I asked them when they finally got some breathing room, would they please come and do a presentation? And they are more than willing to come and do the presentation. But the updates that you're saying, they have happened. We talked about them in the strategic plan meeting, and the strategic plan has been updated online.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes, sir. Judge, I too, like the other commissioners, have been contacted regarding this matter, and it has been very concerning to some of the citizens in Grimes County with regard to this agenda item. Sometimes agenda items fall on deaf ears and nobody notices them, and others concerns spread like wildfire. This is one of those concerns. So a couple of the issues that have been expressed to me are, why would we move an ambulance further away from the school? And why would we position an ambulance in a location that possibly would increase response times throughout the county? Commissioner Dobianski has pointed out we'd like to see those response times, and I think this would bring some light to that, or potentially. The question that I have is, with regard to EMS services and that piece of property in question, is, at this time, is it more valuable to have EMS services located there and do what we can to accommodate their needs, or is it more important to the citizens to sell that property? And I'm gonna sit here and tell you at this time, based on what's going on in the county and the input that I've gotten, selling that property is not a priority when it comes to relocating emergency services. And I will follow up with what Commissioner Walker and Mallett have pointed out. The court did assign a committee to address these issues, and that was not taken into consideration. And I think if we're gonna assign committees to take on specific topics, and those that are assigned to the committee develop relationships and expertise with the subject matter, that they should first be consulted with regard to any change in the way things are going to happen going forward. So, I mean, I don't know what the experts are going to tell us today, if we even need to hear from them, but at this point, it seems as though the citizens of Grimes County, at least in my opinion, have some huge concerns about moving that ambulance.
That's fair enough. I'll make one final comment, then we're gonna try to move on. But I don't have the ability to talk with Commissioner Walker and Commissioner Mallett, those two committee members, at the same time without an agenda. Otherwise, I'm violating open meetings. And that's been hammered to me again and again and again. So I appreciate what you're saying, Commissioner Cox. I appreciate what you're saying, Commissioner Walker. I appreciate what you said, Commissioner Mallett. But again, the reason this is on the agenda is so we can talk about it. Committees or no committees, we need to have the opportunity to have this conversation.
May I add something to
Sure.
that? I assumed yesterday when I got a call from, or the day before yesterday when I got a call from Neil, that this had been talked about by you two. It's a lack of communication between us, and that's the issue. And the only place that we can communicate here is in the court.
That's right.
One thing that has not been brought up in this whole conversation, one thing that I brought up to some of the citizens that were concerned about the move yesterday, is my concern is population density. People don't realize how many people we have living in the south end of the county, not only in Todd Mission, but around Todd Mission. There's a lot of people from there back west, and your precinct, Commissioner Cox, and my precinct, compared to what we have around Stoneham and Plantersville. And I know that, and we have to look at that. I don't have that information, because nobody's giving it to me, but we need that information, along with the response times and the number of calls that you get in each of those areas for us to make a decision.
Does St. Joe's have anything to contribute to this conversation at this time?
Not unless you have specific questions for me.
We're again happy to serve the citizens of Grimes County, and our efforts here are to be able to serve the full county in the best way we see fit. So we work at the pleasure of the commissioners and the judge, so whatever we can do to extend these conversations and make the best decisions, we're happy to do.
With the COVID crisis that's at hand, do y'all have time to get a presentation scheduled so you can update us as to what response times are and
Absolutely.
and if you guys have an opinion, I would ask. What bothers me is, you know, it's been said, not necessarily by y'all, but well, whatever y'all want to do. Well, heck, obviously we don't know what we want to do in many instances, and we need your input. So, you know, we're looking for some guidance because that's going to be your area of expertise.
Absolutely, and we believe strongly today, you know, based on the data that we've seen, that we're operating appropriately. We believe that we have ambulances positioned appropriately where they need to be to best serve the county. However, what we do quarterly and monthly is consistently review that data to determine if we need to make a change.
Sure.
We have made changes. COVID has, you know, we made changes to pulling in Medic 14. We have stationed ambulances at the prison. We have upped based on how the COVID crisis is managing. So we do that really on a real-time basis. But when we work with Barbara and Chad, what we like to do is kind of level set every quarter and say, are we right? Is this, you know, we think we're doing okay. That doesn't mean that may not change in the future, but it's going to be a decision that impacts the best decision for the whole county. So I think today, I mean, Billy, you can speak to that as well. I think today we're in the right place to best serve the county, but we'll continue to work with the commissioners on our liaison team to continue to make the best decisions.
Okay. Neil? City Manager, Todd Mission?
When I started with Todd Mission about 2.5 years ago, there was a working EMS committee for the county commissioners. Todd Mission's in no place to afford having their own ambulance station, and I'm not here just working from the view of just the citizens of Todd Mission. Todd Mission only has about 150 people. But as Commissioner Dobianski was talking about, the density there is much, much greater than where the ambulance is currently located. I would more than willing to work very closely with the county on this commission, but since the first meeting I went to, and I believe it was November of 2018, I've never received an invite or even been able to find out about a meeting of citizens with the commissioners about ambulance. So I felt for 2.5 years that we've just kind of been floating there, and it hasn't been brought to the floor of the commission to talk about and really make some action on and get things done with. During that time, we put in a new septic system for our fire department. While we were doing that, we brought in Billy from St. Joe's and kind of showed him, hey, one day, if the county so decides to move an ambulance here, or if it is an easier location for the county, what would you like to see here? And they took a look at it. We tried to do everything to make it easy for them to move if that was the best decision. But I just feel there hasn't been a lot of action on making that decision, and I'm glad that it was on the agenda today. The new location, if you did move it to Todd Mission, even later down the road, I'm just talking about the county is changing. There's a very dense population there right now, and all the mobility is increasing from that area. It might not be the best thing today. That's what we need to talk about, but we need to be talking about it. We need to be talking about it actively with the citizens and make the best decision with info and looking forward and not just what's best today.
Thank you.
I'd like to do an update, if you don't mind, Billy.
What's that?
I was going to speak to something he said. I think Commissioner Dobianski and I, if I'm have my dates wrong, I don't think so. We met with you in 19. We also talked with Patrick, who was there, who began the talks with Montgomery County to address the needs in that southern part of Grimes County. We worked out an agreement with Magnolia and Montgomery County to bring ambulances to do a mutual aid at the same time that they're toned out, Montgomery County's toned out. And all in an effort to make sure that the response times, are lessened and the patient outcome is better. Mr. Jack Sines, brought it to our attention. We addressed it at that time, and that was in 2019, where I came out, met with you. You talked about the possible growth of Todd Mission with the 5,700 acre plot, which is mostly in Montgomery County and Waller County, and Crown Ranch, and the growth in that area. And that was the reason why we met with you. And we went back to CHI St. Joseph, brought that to their attention, and they took care of that. We received a letter from Mr. Sines talking about how he appreciated it. So you're welcome to reach out to me or Commissioner Mallett anytime, you want to sit down and talk again. But,
Sure.
Okay, I appreciate that. There was a citizen committee at that time, and that's what I'm regarding, that's what I'm talking about. Is there still an active EMS committee meeting with citizens?
not at this particular time
Okay,
because we had
that's where I'm coming
communication
from, is
issue.
that kind of went away.
We had a
Yes.
communication issue, just much like we're having now.
Well, glad
So,
we're getting that taken care of and
yes, sir.
addressed today.
Yes, sir.
Yes, there was a automatic dual tone out thing done with Crown Ranch with one specific neighborhood. That doesn't apply to the entire, southeastern portion of the county. We are still working very closely with Grimes County Dispatch to try and get mutual aid, but there still seems to be this, again, a communication issue, thinking that unless all of the St. Joseph's ambulances are tied up, they can't even call Montgomery County for mutual aid. We're 8 minutes away from them. We're 20 minutes or so away from Stoneham. we're not getting that mutual aid response. And that's why I really wanted to see, not reliably anyway, and that's really why I wanted to see that EMS commission open up to citizens again and meeting on the regular to get this in front of the commissioners and be talking about it, so we're all on the same page.
Okay.
But we're really here to just partner with y'all, and we opened up this location just to be a convenient place to move it if y'all can no longer support the Stoneham location.
I have a comment on what he just said.
All right.
And the reason that Montgomery was brought into Crown Ranch is because we have houses in there in Grimes County. And they just opened a fire station, I think in just a little ways down the road from the entrance to Crown Ranch. When they did that, Mr. Sines called me and we worked with him, or he actually did the work and worked with the county to get that agreement in place. We ratified the agreement. They serve Crown Ranch, the citizens of Grimes County and Crown Ranch. When 249 opens, that's going to open up where we can possibly expand that, because they're only, what, a couple of miles through there to 1486, so there will be only like 4 miles from Todd Mission or Plantersville. So we have that agreement in place, and I'm sure that they will work with us in St. Joseph to get that in place. Okay. So there are options there to get quicker response time down in that area.
Well, Commissioner Walker, I would ask you to work with St. Joe's, to work with Cherie when it's appropriate to have an update with response times and everything, and bring in this COVID business. Then let's get it on the agenda for sooner than later. Fair enough?
Yes, sir. So, I'd like to ask at this time that we table that item in light of that.
I'll second the
until
motion table.
more information is gathered.
No action. Agenda item 14, review, discuss, and take action to determine a replacement. Thank you.
And I'd like to say thank you to
Thank y'all for being here.
Lindo and to our first responders. And thank you.
Usually we're more entertaining than today.
We're always here.
Okay.
Thank you for having us.
Agenda item 14, review, discuss, and take action to determine a replacement for the position of Grimes County Treasurer. It's no secret to anybody around that we had the loss of our second treasurer, Jim Bob Trent. As a result of that, we posted the opening, but we also had input from outside of the employment circle of Grimes County. We have 5 people applied for the job. By the time we got into the interview process, we had 3 people that had pulled their applications for the position. And as a result, we interviewed a Stacy Mail, and we interviewed a Thomas Maynard. We've asked both of them to be here this morning just to not to build the tension or the excitement, but we did do those in closed sessions. We did have a discussion in that executive session. We didn't pick a candidate or a replacement at that time. All we did were discuss some of the things that we recognized through the interview process. So with that, is there a motion?
First of all, I want to thank the applicants for their applying for the position. And with that, I move that we appoint Mr. Maynard to the position.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
A second.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 14 by Commissioner Dobianski, seconded by Commissioner Walker, to determine the replacement for the position of Grimes County Treasurer as Mr. Thomas Maynard. Before we go any further, Mr. Maynard, are you still wanting to be considered for that position?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any further discussion?
I too want to thank Ms. Mel and Mr. Maynard for stepping out. That's not easy.
No.
But I want to say thank you for both of y'all's desire to come forward to help the citizens of Grimes County. Thank you. Thank you, Stacey.
Is there further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Congratulations, Mr. Maynard, I hope. We will, Cherie, will you then get Mr. Maynard's name to Burt Miller Insurance Agency? And they're on standby determining whose name we were going to submit. And they'll have the bond issued in less than 24 hours. Can you be in the district courtroom, which is the second floor courtroom, tomorrow, Thursday, at 4 o'clock?
Yes.
If you will, provided you want me to swear you in. I can be there and swear you in at that point in time, and we should have the bond, we will have the bond in hand at that time. All right? Well, cool. So, could I get you to take this? This is, I didn't know who was going to get it for sure, but this is the county treasurer's responsibilities according to local government code. Enjoy. Do you have anything you'd like to share with the court before we move on?
I appreciate the confidence that you have in me, and of course excited to get started.
All right, sir. Okay.
Thank you.
Watch the court there. We'll go to agenda item number 15, consider and take action regarding the burn ban and authorize the county judge's signature. On my input's no action at this time. 16, receive any updates on the strategic plan? Hearing none. Agenda item number 17, is there a motion to adjourn?
I know we adjourn.
That's it.
There's a motion before the court on agenda item number 17 by Commissioner Dobianski, seconded by Commissioner Walker. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.